Folks, I wanted to go through this Smoky Mountain Knife Works magazine with you guys. I really enjoy this book, and that's because just the large variety of knives out there, and you can really see their pricing is fair. I tell you honest, I think I've ordered only once from them because I have a tendency to be able to find better deals. But it really kind of gives you a look at what's popular and what the market's pushing. Because Smoky Mountain Knife Works really is one of the largest companies out there. So we'll just go through it. On the cover you have, he's one of them survivalists. I think it's Michael Hockey. I don't know much about him. But he's kind of putting himself out there, putting his name on a knife. I haven't tested the knife. I don't know much about the knife, but kind of risky if you ask me, But these days it seems like for the right amount of money, people just throw their name on anything. You got Bear Gillis on the Gerber, which is a fair knife. The only person I think that's really doing a fantastic job is Dave Cadbury, and he's put his name on one of the Blind Horse knives. I was just on his website actually. Dave has some wonderful stuff out there. I'll throw a link to his website on the bottom of my video for best buys. I think that he has some real fair pricing. You can get a lot of his knives also from Blind Horse Knife, but if you're a fan of Dave, support him and his family. You can really get some good deals. He has really fair pricing on it, and every once in a while he has a special out there, and he really trims the fat off some of these knives to get them to be affordable. He really has a nice selection of really less expensive knives also that are really good for bushcraft also. Not as cheap as the $7 knives that I did a video on the other day ago, but in the $14 range you do have some nice bushcraft knives that you can purchase on his website also. So I'll throw a link to that below my video for you guys to go visit. But in the meantime, let's just skim on through this, and I can give you guys an idea of my opinions, and they're just simply, these are my opinions. And for whatever it's worth. So I don't know much about this knife. This was from the cover, so we'll just keep on going. Schrade, $14.99. Seems like a pretty good deal. Looks like a nice knife, but it's most likely made in China. And you know me in China. China is a real difficult one. I've seen a few knives come from China that are really built well, but I really have some trust issues with them. Meaning that you could be using that knife and it just snap right in half. Taiwan, if it's made in Taiwan, I'm a fan, period. Taiwan makes some fantastic knives. Anything made in Taiwan will probably increase in value. But then again, a lot of the Taiwan knives have already increased. I think I predicted that 3 years ago when I was talking to another knife buddy of mine, that the value of the Taiwan-made merchandise was going to increase in value when people realized what a great bargain it was. Chinese knives, they're not a great bargain. They are exactly what they are, cheaply made knives. Every once in a while, like I said, a few of the imports with proper QA does produce some nice Chinese made knives, but in general they're garbage. Gerber, I'm a fan of Gerber, but not really. Like I said, I just think there's a lot better choices out there than Gerber's. Just a lot better choices. I like their saws and their axes though. They're pretty affordable. A $30 saw. They make some good saws. The K-Bar Becker knives, fantastic. Look at this new one they got here, this BK K-Bar Signature Series, first production run. Ethan Becker Signature, $79.99. I could probably recommend that. It looks like it's full tang. Just a real basic, strong design. I like that, the blade shape. It's really nice. Probably gets nice and sharp too. It's a good company. Leatherman, great. Too large to carry though, really. This Leatherman Mutt. Very tempted to buy that, but I know it'd just sit in my toolbox and do nothing. Heard the sawg axes are good. Look at that. Nice, nice. I'm a real fan of this type of hat too. See those hats? Keep you nice and cool. Good stuff. Whoa, meals ready to eat. MRE meal ready to eat packs. Each MRE pack includes one main entry, one snack, one dessert, drink mix, wet wipe, eating utensils, salt and pepper food. Box of 12 assorted MREs for $89.99. Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I think that you could probably find those cheaper, and those are the civilian ones because they're in the clear packaging. They're not as well equipped as the standard mil-spec ones, but they're good. I've heard they're good. The calorie count's lower in them, so they're probably not as good a deal. I heard this Irish Blackhorn walking stick from Cold Steel is the bomb. The bomb. Where's the last time you heard that used? Condor makes some good stuff. And Cold Steel is one of those things, they do utilize Taiwan. I don't think they've utilized China, but even if they did, they do have some good quality assurance. So even if they do utilize different countries to produce their knives or their products, they do make sure that they're made to their standards. So Cold Steel is a very good importer of knives and designer of knives. So I can highly recommend Cold Steel. Marbles used to be a great company. They've gone all Chinese. Not a big fan of them anymore. I do have a lot of the American. I have some American-made marbles that were made in, I think it was Ohio. And fantastic quality, beautiful, all convex. They were way ahead of their time. You can go to the marbles that were made in the 80s and the 90s, and I believe they're made in Ohio. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a lot of them were convex grind. Wow, way ahead of their time. They started doing the convex in mass production well before a lot of these other companies have. And fantastic sharp knives, but then they went Chinese to compete, and I think they've destroyed the name. It's too bad. Browning, garbage, all this is, Kershaw, that's good. They make some good stuff. Kershaw's good, always sharp out of the box. Big fan of Kershaw. Cheap, but good knives. Boker, same thing. They make them in Taiwan, but they have some good quality assurance. I would have to recommend the Boker. They do still make a few in the States and in Germany, but in general it's imports. But they make some good products, good quality assurance. Steel Warrior knives, they're cheap. They'll work. If that's what you're looking for, a nice cheap knife, they'll work. These larger knives, more gimmicky. I wouldn't trust. Spend a little extra money, you can get an actual nice tool that you're able to sharpen again. More of these import knives, mostly garbage. Mostly garbage. I wouldn't get my kids something like that. It's basically a disposable knife. More disposable knives. Extremely thick, not sharp. Piece of junk. Colt, more junk. CRKT. Wow, they make some great stuff. Probably the best designed knives out there. Really good pricing. I would say their quality is their competitors are more like Kershaw, stuff like that. They're not in the Spyderco Benchmade quality zone, but they're pretty darn close. They make some really good designs. More of this junk. More gimmick knives. If that's your thing, cool. Buck, they make some acceptable folders. Again, a little bit lower quality, but sometimes they'll surprise you, like this Buck Vantage liner locks. Very impressed with those. They're made in the USA. Very good pricing, $26.99. For the large, it's $67. So look at that. So you can get 420 HC steel for $26.99. That'll be good for an everyday user. You have your S30V stainless steel for $67.99. That's some pretty good pricing. And I've seen that the Buck knives do really, really well. They're one of the few companies that hasn't started exporting their knives, and they're doing a really great job, you know. Here's something that looks like this is an import though, but there's, you know, every company has their import lines. Hell, even Benchmade does. More gimmick knives. I won't waste my money on this stuff, but because if you want a gimmick knife, you can go out and get a machete made by Cold Steel. That would be of some nice carbon steel that you can actually resharpen and use again and again and again instead of just throw out. Zero gravity pins. More disposable knives, $8. You can get these really sharp, but they don't maintain their edge. You cut paper a few times and really impress your friends, but they just don't maintain their edge. When you start cutting stuff like rope or boxes, it just destroys these knives. The steel just doesn't hold up. Real soft steel, but you can get, like I said, you can get them really sharp. So for the unknowing individual, you'd be like, wow, this gets really sharp, but it just doesn't maintain its edge. Basic junk. More gimmick junk knives. Make it look like it's made out of a file. Look at that right there. More junk. I like these sheaths though. Look at those sheaths. That's pretty cool. Probably not double stitched though, and they probably don't have a piece of leather right here, so the first couple times you put your knife in here, it's just going to slice that row of stitching. So, because they'd have to put that extra piece of material in between the stitching, which they probably don't do, to cut down on cost. So on the outside it looks like it's really nice, but when you start using it, it breaks. Spend a little extra money and you get yourself some nice stuff. Bear & Son, another American company, they do alright. You know, they got an alright line of knives. They're okay. I'm not a real big fan. What else we got here? Schrade, all made in China. All Chinese made knives. And they're pricey too. I mean, $19 for a Chinese made knife just because it has the Schrade brand on it since 1904. Real shame that they destroy their name by having them made by China. I've seen videos on the internet, YouTube, you know, showing, you know, the Chinese made version and the USA version, saying there's no difference. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. To the discerning eye and to the individual that really utilizes their knife, you will notice a big difference. Super diamond sharpener stones. Like I said, you get what you pay for, and if you spend this much on a little stone like this, $6-7, that's what you're going to get. I have a DMT stone that's lasted me 8 years, and I use it all the time. You know, it's expensive, but it'll last you for the rest of your life. Little ceramic rods. Those probably wouldn't wear out. That might be a good deal. Let's get yourself a little ceramic rod. And some kitchen knives. More gimmick knives. I'm really not into these gimmick knives. Garbage, absolute garbage. Case, you know, cases, they have some nice knives now. They're making some good ones. If you don't want to spend, you know, $60 on a case knife though, like I said, you can go back and get on eBay and, you know, spend $60 on a one that was made in the 70s, which would be of much higher quality than the current versions. But these are, when it comes today, these are good, well, very well made knives. But $100 for a knife, like I said, go on eBay and you can get a 70s version of something like maybe this or this or this in the $40 to $50 range, which is far superior. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to find the rust lock because that's a new knife. You're not going to be able to find the trapper with the clip. I'm a real big fan of that too. I've used that knife. It's incredible. So you might want to spend that $100 on a knife that you can't purchase. But some of these knives you can really find on eBay. Well, not that one. Trappers are expensive, period. But you can find a lot of the jackknives for really priced well. Bumblebee series, Zippo. Who's this? Les Stroud Survival Guide. And it's got his signature on it. Made by Calmus series. I believe these are made in America too. Swiss Army knives, great. You always know what you're going to get with a Swiss Army knife. You know, it's not the highest or the best knife, but you always know what you're going to get. They're machine made and they're made wonderfully, and they use some great steel. I'm a big fan of the Swiss. They make some good stuff. Calmus lifetime warranty. These might be exported. They might be Taiwan. I would not see Calmus doing that. I believe that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Just running through the catalog. Cool stuff. I don't know if I put my name on a catalog or my face like this, because if the knife stinks, it can make you look like a real clown, you know. So you know, I mean, if I'm gonna pick a knife to put my name on or my reputation on, I'm gonna make sure it's a good knife, you know, because if it doesn't, you're really making yourself look bad, and you could really come across as a real goof if you make a bad decision. The Gerber deal with oh man, what was his name? I was just talking about him, kind of hurt his reputation, you know. Dave Cadbury, with his choice of knife, helped his reputation because he, you know, he's really big now. You go to the knife shows, or you go to the Blade show in Georgia, you're going to see Dave Cadbury there. You're going to see the knives that he represents, and they're of superior quality. They win awards all over the place. So it really says a lot about a person that basically doesn't just, you know, look out for the money or the contract that he can do, but he actually goes for a knife that he would really want to carry, that he would put his life on. I think if you really ask this individual if he'd place his life on this particular blade, he'd probably say no. But if you pay him the right amount of money, he'll hold it and put his face on the cover of a magazine and make it seem like he would do that. So just remember that. Your word and all that means an awful lot. So, hey, I'll let you guys go. Hope you guys enjoyed the Smoky Mountain Knife Works run through. Y'all take it easy.